Today we're going to take a look at factorising quadratics where a is greater than 1. And all that means is that the number in front of the x squared is greater than 1. So here we have a number 2, so this is one of those questions. I've got to factorise it and then I've got to solve it. I know that because it's got an equal 0. So the first thing I do is I pull out the 2x squared and I pull out the plus 3. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the 2 and the plus 3 together, and that will give me plus 6. And I have to ask two questions. And my two questions are, what two numbers multiply together to give me 6, but add together to give me plus 5? So I'm going to try the numbers 1 and 6, because I know 1 and 6 multiply together to give me 6. But can I do anything with 1 and 6 to give me plus 5? Well, I could take away 1, because 6 take away 1 is 5. However, that has now changed my questions, because minus 1 times 6 is minus 6 and not plus 6. So therefore, these two numbers don't work. Two other numbers that multiply together to give me 6 are 2 and 3. So let's check these. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 plus 3 is plus 5. So that is correct. Those are the two numbers I use. I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to write it over here, but I've got to add an x to it. And the 3 I'm going to bring over, but I've got to add an x to it. It doesn't matter which way round you put the 2 or the 3, but you must remember to put in the x. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to split these in half. And I'm going to fully factorise both sides. So if I fully factorise the left-hand side, I can factorise out 2x. And inside the bracket, I've got x plus 1. If you fully factorised, there should be an x plus 1 on the other side. Something times x equals plus 3x, so I have plus 3. Now I just want to check what I've done. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times 1 is 3. So I know those are correct. I've got to have them equal to 0. Now, if I look at these, I've got an x plus 1 over here, and I've got an x plus 1 over here. So I'm going to factorise out. I'm going to pull out the x plus 1. If I remove x plus 1 from the left-hand side, I'm left with 2x. If I pull out x plus 1 from the right-hand side, I'm left with plus 3. That's my quadratic factorised. Now I've got to solve it. If I take the first bracket, x plus 1 equals 0. To find x on its own, I get rid of the plus 1. So x equals minus 1. Or I take the other bracket, 2x plus 3 equals 0. Get rid of the 3 first. So 2x equals minus 3. Now to get rid of the 2, I divide both sides by 2. The 2's cancel out. So I've got x equals minus 3 over 2. Those are my two solutions for my quadratic. Here's one for you to have a go at. Press pause and we'll run through it in a few seconds. Okay, the first thing I do is I pull out the 7x squared and the plus 1. Then I multiply the 7 and the 1 together. That gives me plus 7. And then I ask two questions. Which two numbers multiply together to give me 7, but add together to give me minus 8? The two numbers that multiply together to give me 7 are 1 and 7. So let's try those. 1 times 7 is 7. That works. But what can I do with 1 and 7 to get minus 8? Well, I'd have to have minus 1 and minus 7. So let's try this. Minus 1 times minus 7 gives me plus 7, and minus 1 minus 7 gives me minus 8. So those are my two numbers. So I write those over here. I'm going to put the 7 with the 7, so minus 7x, don't forget the x, and minus 1x. I don't have to write the 1. I'm now going to split this in half, and I'm going to fully factorise. If I factorise the left, I can pull out 7x, and inside the bracket I've got x minus 1. Because I've fully factorised, my bracket on the other side is going to be exactly the same. Then I say x times what equals minus x? Well, that's minus 1. So let's check what I've got here. I've got 7x times x is 7x squared. That's correct. 7x times minus 1 is minus 7x. Minus 1 times x is minus x. And minus 1 times minus 1 is plus 1. So that's correct. Don't forget you're equal to 0. I'm now going to factorize out the x minus 1 because I've got x minus 1 on both sides. So I've factorized that out. And then in the other bracket, I'm left with 7x minus 1 equals 0. I now have to solve this. So I take one bracket at a time. X minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 to both sides. X equals 1. Or 7x minus 1 equals 0. Add 1 to both sides. 7x equals 1. Divide both sides by 7. X equals 1 over 7. Those are my two answers for this question.